My name is Cassandra, and at 28, I truly believed my life was finally in order. As a financial analyst, I'd put in 3 years of overtime, all to earn a $12,800 bonus. But just one phone call from my overbearing mother changed everything. She invited me to what she called a small family dinner. Instead, I found myself walking into a house packed with 81 guests under a banner that declared, "Welcome, Baby Emily." My mother just laughed when she saw the shock on my face and casually announced, "We used your bonus for family joy." I said nothing, simply replying, "Noted." Before I continue my story, please drop a comment to tell me where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button if your family has ever taken advantage of you financially. Growing up in the Henderson home, you never knew if the electricity would stay on until the month's end. My mother, Diana, handled money as if it were water slipping through her fingers. No matter how much cash came in, it always vanished, leaving nothing substantial to show for it. Our finances constantly hovered on the brink of disaster, with bill collectors calling at all hours and unexpected emergencies draining any savings before they could even build up. As the oldest of 3 kids, I learned financial responsibility early, not from positive examples, but from seeing the chaos that happened when it was absent. By age 14, I was working after school at the local grocery store, carefully hiding parts of my paycheck in a lockbox beneath my bed. My mother found my secret savings when I was 16. She justified taking $400 for household expenses, which somehow turned into new shoes and salon visits for herself. "Family money is community money," she'd always say when questioned about her spending. "We all gain when one of us has something nice." My siblings and I, however, were never part of that we. College became my escape route. Through a combination of scholarships, student loans, and working 30 hours a week while taking a full course load, I put myself through State University, earning a degree in finance. The irony wasn't lost on me. I chose to study the very subject my family had failed to master. During my sophomore year, when I was severely ill with pneumonia and briefly hospitalized, I gave my mother emergency access to my bank account so she could deposit rent money from my roommates. This temporary access was never revoked, although I had since created separate accounts for my primary finances. That old account stayed open with minimal funds, a remnant from my college days I simply hadn't gotten around to closing after graduating. I secured a position at Lawrence Financial Partners, a respected firm in the city. For 3 years, I worked 60-hour weeks, took on extra projects, and built a reputation for meticulous work. My dedication finally paid off with a promotion to senior analyst and a $12,800 bonus, the largest sum of money I had ever received. At once, this bonus, to me, represented freedom. I planned to put $6, zero towards my remaining student loans, add $4,000 to bolster my emergency fund, and use the rest for a modest mountain vacation, my first real break in years. I had precisely calculated how this money would improve my financial future, pushing forward my 5-year plan towards true stability. Despite our history, I kept in touch with my family. Weekly phone calls with my mother, holiday gatherings, and occasional Sunday dinners kept us connected. Though I carefully avoided conversations about money, my boundaries were clear but unstated. A delicate balance between family loyalty and self-preservation. The Tuesday after I received my bonus, my mother called, her voice unusually warm. "Cassie, honey, we're having a small family dinner this Saturday. Just the immediate family. Your presence is requested," she said, with an odd formality. "I had plans to research vacation spots this weekend," I replied, already feeling the familiar pull of obligation. Plans can change. Family comes first. You know that. It would mean so much to everyone. After several minutes of gentle but persistent pressure, I agreed to attend what I expected would be a gathering of perhaps 10 people at most. Before hanging up, I made my critical error. excited about my achievement and momentarily letting my guard down. I mentioned my bonus. Actually, Mom, I do have some good news. I got a substantial bonus at work, $12,800 for all the extra hours I've been putting in. The pause on the line should have been a warning. That's wonderful, sweetheart. So proud of you. Which bank did you deposit it in? The one you gave me access to during college, or your new one? The joint access one? I answered without thinking. I'll transfer it to my high-yield savings account next week. Perfect timing. Then Saturday will be extra special now. See you at 6 sharp. The call ended, leaving me with an unsettling apprehension I couldn't quite place. 3 days later, I would understand exactly why. Saturday evening arrived with an unusual clarity for early autumn. I pulled into my mother's neighborhood around 6:15, fashionably late as a small act of independence. As I turned onto her street, my stomach tightened. Cars lined both sides of the road, at least 25 vehicles, where I expected 5 or 6. Maybe someone on the street is having a party, I thought, trying to dismiss my growing unease. But as I approached my mother's modest 2-story home, a sinking realization set in. Every parking space near her house was occupied. I ended up parking almost 2 blocks away, my mind racing with possibilities, none of them good. Walking up the driveway, I heard music and laughter spilling from open windows. The front door stood ajar, revealing glimpses of a crowd inside. Taking a deep breath, I stepped across the threshold into a scene that confirmed my worst fears. The living room and adjoining dining area teemed with people, many of whom I barely recognized. Extended family members mingled with neighbors and friends I hadn't seen in years. Children darted between groups of chatting adults, and prominently displayed across the archway between rooms was an elaborate banner in pastel pink and gold lettering. Welcome baby Emily. My cousin Jessica, 6 months pregnant with her first child, sat in a decorated chair in the center of the room, surrounded by wrapped gifts piled almost to her shoulders. Jessica and I had never been particularly close, only meeting at family gatherings perhaps once a year since childhood. As I stood frozen in the entryway, my mother spotted me and rushed over, champagne glass in hand. Cassie, you made it. Isn't this wonderful? The whole family came together to celebrate Jessica and baby Emily. Mom, I managed to say through clenched teeth. You said this was a small family dinner. She waved her hand dismissively. Well, it started that way in the planning. But you know how these things grow. Once word got out about Jessica's baby shower, everyone wanted to attend. We couldn't exactly turn family away, could we? I glanced around the room, counting unfamiliar faces. There must be 80 people here. 81. Actually, we had to rent extra chairs, she said proudly, as if it were an accomplishment. And the catering, the decorations, the gifts. I gestured to the elaborate food spread on tables in the dining room, the professionally done decorations transforming the house and the mountain of presents. My mother's eyes sparkled with excitement as she lowered her voice. That's the best part. When you told me about your bonus, I knew it was perfect timing. Jessica has been so worried about affording everything for the baby, with Paul losing his job and all. So I took care of everything. The venue, which is here, obviously, the catering from that fancy place downtown, custom baby gifts, even hired a professional photographer to capture every moment. The room seemed to tilt slightly as her words registered. You took care of everything. With what money? Exactly. Her smile didn't waver. Your bonus, of course. Remember when you gave me access to your account during college? Such a blessing that you never changed those settings. I knew you'd want to contribute to family joy, especially for sweet baby Emily. You make enough money now, and family always comes first. Blood rushed to my face as I fought to keep my composure. You withdrew my bonus money without asking. Me? All of it? Not all at once, she said, as if that made it better. 15 separate transactions over 3 days. Had to stay under the daily limit, you know. Jessica then approached us, her pregnant belly leading the way, eyes bright. With gratitude, Cassandra, thank you so much for all of this. She gestured around the room. Your mom told me you were helping sponsor the shower. I can't believe how generous you are. This is more than I ever dreamed of. Behind Jessica stood her husband, Paul, looking both embarrassed and relieved, clearly unaware of the truth. I felt dozens of eyes on me, family members watching for my reaction. Some looked admiring, others slightly envious. A few seemed concerned or suspicious. My Aunt Margaret, my mother's sister, observed with narrowed eyes from across the room, likely sensing something amiss. A vivid memory flashed through my mind, age 17. Discovering my mother had borrowed $200 from my college fund to buy concert tickets for herself and her friends. When confronted, she had cried, accused me of being selfish and uncaring, and successfully turned several family members against me for weeks. In that moment, I made a calculation. Creating a scene would only make me the villain in my mother's narrative. This was a battle to fight strategically, not emotionally, in front of an audience she had carefully assembled. I'm so happy for you, Jessica, I said, forcing warmth into my voice. Congratulations. My mother beamed triumphantly, interpreting my restraint as acceptance. She clinked her glass with a fork, calling for attention. Everyone. A toast to my generous daughter, Cassandra, whose contribution made this beautiful celebration possible. To family. Taking care of family, cheers erupted as glasses raised. I lifted my empty hand in acknowledgement, my voice steady as I met my mother's gaze directly. Noted, I said quietly, the single word carrying the weight of a promise. I stayed for exactly 45 minutes, engaging in minimal conversation while observing everything with newfound clarity. The custom-ordered cake from the city's most expensive bakery, the professional photographer capturing every moment, the monogrammed party favors for each guest, the caterers serving premium appetizers and drinks. Every detail represented dollars drained from my account without consent. Every smile directed my way was purchased with my stolen funds. At 7:30, I excused myself, claiming a work emergency requiring immediate attention. My mother frowned disapprovingly, but couldn't create a scene without revealing her deception. As I left, I heard her explaining to others about my important finance job that pays so well. She hardly notices sharing with family. Walking to my car, I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app, finally seeing the damage in detail. 15 transactions over 3 days, systematically emptying my account of $12,800. My hands shook, not with anger, but with resolve. By tomorrow, things would be different. The drive home passed in a blur of emotion and clarity. My knuckles turned white on the steering wheel as memories cascaded through my mind, instances of financial manipulation I had dismissed or downplayed throughout my life. Age 8. My birthday money from grandparents disappearing from my unicorn piggy bank, later discovered as new earrings on my mother's ears. Borrowing, she called it. Age 12. The $100 I earned from summer lawn mowing jobs mysteriously needed for household bills. Well, my mother got a new hairstyle that same week. Age 16. My first car, purchased with 2 years of saved wages. Loaned to my mother's friend who promptly crashed it. No insurance, no reimbursement. Just a lecture about selfishness when I expressed anger. College years, care packages I sent. Home containing groceries and necessities for my younger siblings. Found unopened and resold by my mother for cash. Each incident formed a pattern I had refused to fully acknowledge until now. My mother had never seen me as an independent person with rights to my own resources. In her world, my achievements existed to compensate for her failures, my stability, to offset her chaos. I was not a daughter, but a resource to exploit. Arriving at my apartment, I went straight to my computer and logged into my bank account, confirming what I already knew. Multiple transactions over 3 days. $3,000 to Elegant Events Catering, $2, $500 to Precious Moments Photography, $1,800 to Sweet Dreams Bakery, $1, $200 to Balloon and Banner Wonderland, $900 to Premium Party Rentals, $800 to Tiny Treasures Baby Boutique, $700 to Gift Wrap Specialists, $500 to Golden Touch Decorations, $400 to Sophisticated Sips Beverage Service, $300 to Musical Memories DJ Services, $250 to Custom Cupcake Creations, $200 to Party Favor Paradise, $150 to Digital Invitation Designs, $100 to Valet Parking Services, $50 to Premium Streaming Music Subscription, $12,800. Every cent of my bonus meticulously distributed to create an elaborate event for someone else's child without my knowledge or consent. I sat in stunned silence, then reached for my phone and called Jordan, my college roommate, who now worked in banking security. I need advice on unauthorized access to my account, I said when she answered, my voice steadier than I expected. For the next hour, Jordan guided me through my options, explaining policies on fraudulent transactions, the complications with family access, and the documentation I would need. The joint access complicates things, she explained. But since you can prove you never authorized these specific transactions, and given the pattern and timing, you have a strong case for fraud. Will I have to press charges? I asked, hesitating. At the thought of legal action against my own mother? Not necessarily to recover the funds, but it strengthens your position if you are willing to. The bank needs to see you are serious about unauthorized access. After our call, I researched banking regulations and policies until midnight, making detailed notes and gathering evidence. I downloaded 3 months of bank statements, highlighting the regular pattern of my transactions compared to the sudden flurry of unusual purchases, which coincided exactly with my bonus deposit. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, I found myself standing at my window, watching the quiet street below and confronting the ethical questions that had begun to surface. Was I overreacting? $12,000 was significant to me, but was it worth potentially fracturing family relationships? Would I be seen as greedy or uncaring for demanding it back? Then another thought emerged, clear and undeniable. This wasn't just about money. This was about respect, boundaries, and autonomy. By taking my bonus without permission, my mother had declared that my work, my sacrifices, and my plans held no value compared to her wishes. She had stolen more than dollars. She had attempted to steal my independence. If I allowed this violation to stand, it would never end. There would always be another family emergency, another special occasion, another reason why my resources should be diverted to purposes I hadn't chosen. The clarity of this realization settled over me like a weight, being lifted. This confrontation wasn't just necessary, it was years overdue. I returned to my desk and began documenting everything systematically, creating a detailed timeline of events with supporting evidence. Then I drafted a comprehensive plan. First, contact the bank's fraud department first thing in the morning. Report unauthorized transactions and initiate the reversal process. Second, freeze all accounts my mother could possibly access. Third, withdraw remaining funds to secure them from further unauthorized access. Fourth, open new accounts at a different bank with enhanced security measures. Fifth, change all passwords, security questions, and access protocols across all financial platforms. Sixth, document everything in case legal action became necessary. Seventh, prepare for the inevitable confrontation with clear boundaries and consequences established. For the first time since discovering the theft, I felt a sense of calm. This would be difficult, possibly even devastating to certain relationships, but necessary for my future. I set my alarm for 6:30, knowing tomorrow would require all my strength and clarity. As I finally lay down to sleep around 3 o'clock in the morning, One thought remained. This ends now. At exactly 6:30. My alarm jolted me awake after barely 3 hours of fitful sleep. Despite my exhaustion, adrenaline pushed me into immediate action. I showered quickly, dressed in my most professional outfit, and sat down at my desk with a large cup of coffee and the detailed plan from the night before. First, I needed to systematically document everything. I took screenshots of all 15 unauthorized transactions, including timestamps, merchant information, and transaction IDs. I created a spreadsheet tracking every detail, including when my bonus had been deposited and the suspicious timing of my mother's invitation immediately afterward. Next, I gathered evidence of my mother's unauthorized access. I found the text, messages from college where I had given her temporary emergency access during my hospitalization, with clear language about the temporary nature of the arrangement. I also had emails discussing my bonus and my explicit plans for using it for student loans and emergency savings, establishing that I never intended these funds for family use. At 7:30, I began executing my plan. First, I logged into my compromised account and changed all security settings, removing my mother as an authorized user. I changed the password, security questions, and added two-factor authentication linked to a new email address my mother had no knowledge of. I then contacted my bank's fraud department, explaining the situation in precise, factual terms. The representative, Amanda, listened carefully as I detailed how my account had been accessed without permission, and funds systematically drained through 15 strategic transactions. These purchases were made without my knowledge or consent. I explained. I have documentation showing the temporary nature of the shared access from 5 years ago, during a medical emergency, with no indication this access would continue long-term or be used for major withdrawals. Amanda was professionally sympathetic, but necessarily thorough. I understand this is a sensitive situation involving family. Miss Henderson, we will need to investigate each transaction. Do you have any documentation showing these purchases were unauthorized? I had prepared for this. Yes, I have text messages from the account holder admitting to using my funds without permission, specifically targeting my recent work bonus. I also have witnesses who heard her publicly acknowledge taking the money without my prior knowledge. At an event yesterday evening, the call lasted 45 minutes, resulting in a formal fraud investigation being opened. Amanda explained that reversing the transactions would be complex, since they involved multiple merchants, but the process had begun. I authorized the bank to immediately freeze the account to prevent any further unauthorized activity. By 9:15, I had moved to the next phase. I opened my laptop and initiated transfers of all remaining funds from accounts my mother might possibly access to my secure personal account at a different bank. I watched the confirmation screen appear one by one, each representing another resource protected from future exploitation. Next came the most challenging technical task, systematically changing every password, security question, and recovery option across all my financial platforms. Banking apps, investment accounts, retirement funds, credit cards, student loan servicers, tax preparation services, and financial planning tools. For each, I created new, complex passwords stored in a secure password manager, established new security questions with answers my mother could never guess, and removed any recovery phone numbers or emails she might access. At 11:30, I took a short break to refuel with a sandwich and to check my phone, which I had deliberately set aside to focus. 23 missed calls and 37 text messages, all from my mother. I scrolled through them without reading, fully noting the progression from confusion to anger to threats. Some charges were declined. What did you do to your account? Call me. Immediately. You're being completely selfish and childish. The caterers are threatening to sue me because of you. If you don't fix this right now, don't bother coming to Thanksgiving. I set the phone down without responding and returned to my computer. The final step in securing my finances. involved opening entirely new accounts at Meridian Bank, a competitor, to my current institution with no connection to any accounts my mother knew about. I established checking, savings, and investment accounts with the strictest security protocols available, marking all account statements for electronic delivery only to prevent any paper trail. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I received confirmation that 13 of the 15 transactions had been successfully flagged for reversal. The merchants would be contacted by the bank, and the funds would be returned to my account within 3 to 5 business days. The remaining 2 transactions were more complex, due to service agreements, and would require additional investigation. At 3:30, I received a call from the bank's security department. They had reviewed the evidence and officially classified the transactions as fraudulent. The representative explained that I had the option to press criminal charges against the unauthorized user. We understand this is a family matter, but we are required to inform you of your rights in this situation, the representative explained. I appreciate that. I responded, at this time, I am not pursuing criminal charges, but I do want it noted in my file that this was definitively unauthorized access, and I want all possible security measures implemented. By 5 o'clock, I had completed every item on my action plan. My finances were secured, transactions were being reversed, new accounts were established, and all access points were protected. I allowed myself a moment of pride in having acted decisively and thoroughly. Then I turned off my phone, made myself a proper meal, and prepared for the confrontation I knew would come. My mother would not accept this reversal quietly. She would escalate, involve others, and attempt to reassert control through any means available. For the first time in my adult life, I felt truly in control of my boundaries. Whatever storm came next, I had secured my foundations. The $12,800 was more than money to me now. It represented my declaration of independence. I slept soundly that night, still powered off, knowing that by morning everything would have changed. The harsh buzz of my apartment doorbell woke me at 6:45 the next morning, persistent and repeated. It left no doubt that whoever stood outside had no intention of leaving. I checked my security camera app to confirm what I already suspected. My mother, looking disheveled and furious, jabbing at the button repeatedly before confronting her. I powered on my phone to assess the damage. 68 missed calls, 120 text messages, 30 voice messages, notifications from multiple social media platforms where family members had tagged me or sent messages. I scrolled through texts from various relatives. Seeing the story had spread overnight with predictably distorted framing. From Aunt Patricia, your mother is devastated. How could you embarrass the family like this? From Uncle Robert, financial. Disputes should stay private. Call your mother. From Cousin Jessica, the caterers showed up demanding additional payment. My shower is ruined and I'm distressed for the baby now. From my brother Tyler, Mom's hysterical. Fix this. From Aunt Margaret, surprisingly, call me when you can. I want to hear your side. I took a deep breath, put on a robe, and went to the door, opening it without removing the security chain. My mother immediately burst into speech. What have you done? The bank reversed all the transactions. The caterer is threatening legal action against me. Jessica is in tears. Your own family. Cassandra, your own blood. I stopped unauthorized access to my accounts. I replied calmly. Nothing more. Unauthorized. I am your mother. You gave me access years ago for a specific emergency during college, not to take my entire bonus without permission. Her face contorted with the familiar mixture of indignation and calculation I had seen throughout my childhood whenever her actions were questioned. I did not steal anything, she hissed. I redirected funds to where they were needed most. Jessica is family. That baby is your blood relation. Your selfishness is showing. Cassandra, what would you have spent it on anyway? More expensive clothes. Another vacation. while your cousin struggles to afford diapers? The manipulation tactic was now so transparent, especially since I had stepped back from it. For years, such arguments had triggered my guilt and compliance. Today, they simply confirmed I had made the right decision. If you were concerned about Jessica's baby supplies, you could have asked me directly to contribute what I felt comfortable giving. Instead, you took everything. Without asking for an elaborate party rather than practical needs. Family does not need to ask permission to help family. Taking $12,800 without consent is not help, Mom. It is theft. She gasped dramatically. Theft? Your own mother? After everything I have sacrificed for you, I need to get ready for work, I said, refusing to engage with her martyr routine. We can discuss this when you are calmer. Discuss. There is nothing to discuss. You will unfreeze those transactions immediately. Jessica's reputation is destroyed. My word in the community is ruined. That was your choice when you spent money that wasn't yours? Her strategy shifted instantly. Tears replacing rage. Please, Cassie, they are threatening to sue me. I cannot afford lawyers. I could lose the house that I had helped. Her refinance last year. The house where she had just hosted a lavish party with my stolen money. The bank is reversing the transactions because they were unauthorized. The merchants will get their money back from the bank, not from you. You won't be sued if you explain that you made the purchases without proper authorization. You want me to admit to stealing to strangers. I want you to be honest about what happened. Her face hardened. I will tell everyone what you did. How you humiliated your pregnant cousin. How you care more about money than family. No one will take your side. I had expected this exact threat. It had worked countless times before. The fear of family rejection keeping me in line. Today, it simply reinforced my resolve. That is your choice. My choice is to protect my financial security. I closed the door despite her protests and got ready for work. Before leaving, I sent a single text to Aunt Margaret. Can talk after 6 tonight. Arriving at Lauren's financial partners, I was not entirely surprised to find my mother waiting in the lobby. She had done this before when I wouldn't answer calls. Showing up at my workplace to force confrontations where I would be professionally constrained from responding honestly. There she is, she announced loudly as I entered, drawing attention from colleagues and clients in the reception area. The daughter who reports her own mother to the bank for fraud, who ruins a baby shower out of spite. Security approached. Immediately, as heads turned toward the disturbance, I made eye contact with Marcus, our head of security, who knew me well from 3 years of morning greetings. This is my mother, I explained quietly. She is upset about a personal matter. Could you please assist her outside? I have an important client meeting. Absolutely, Miss Henderson, he replied professionally. You cannot avoid this, Cassandra. My mother called as Marcus gently, but firmly guided her toward the exit. Family is forever. You cannot choose money over blood. Several colleagues witnessed the scene, including my direct supervisor, Jana, who approached with concern. Everything all right, Cassandra? Do you need to take some time this morning? Thank you, but I'd rather focus on work. I replied, it is a personal situation I am handling. If you need support or flexibility, just let me know, she offered. We value your well-being here. That simple professional courtesy almost broke my composure more than my mother's dramatics. In my workplace, my boundaries were respected without question. The contrast with my family dynamics couldn't have been starker. Throughout the day, my phone continued to accumulate messages. By lunch, word had spread further through the family network. Cousins I barely spoke to sent judgmental texts. Aunts called demanding explanations. Even my siblings, who had experienced our mother's financial manipulation themselves, pressured me to fix things and keep the peace. But scattered among the criticism were surprising messages of support. From my younger cousin, Alicia, Aunt. Diana did the same thing to my graduation money last year. Thank you for standing up to her. Financial games. Stay strong. From a distant cousin I had met perhaps twice. Your mom borrowed $3. Zero from my parents for emergency medical bills in 2018. Turned out to be a cruise. They were too embarrassed to confront her. By 5:30, when I left work, the bank had confirmed that all 15 transactions had been successfully flagged for reversal. The funds would be returned to my new, secure account within a week. My mother had been permanently removed from all access to my financial systems. Driving home, I felt a complex mixture of emotions, vindication and sadness, relief and grief. I had protected my resources and established critical boundaries. But at what relational cost? Was financial autonomy worth the family conflict it had created? Then I remembered the years of small thefts, manipulations, and boundary violations that had led to this moment. The pattern would never have stopped on its own. My mother would never have recognized my financial independence without this forced consequence. Sometimes peace comes at too high a price. Sometimes respect must be demanded rather than requested. As difficult as this confrontation had been, it was the necessary first step toward healthier relationships based on genuine care, rather than exploitation. That evening, I spoke with Aunt Margaret for over an hour. Unlike most of the family, she listened without judgment, asking thoughtful questions and offering perspective from her own difficult relationship. With my mother, Diana has always been this way, she said. Money flows through her hands like water, and she feels entitled to whatever resources are within reach. You are the first person to establish real consequences, and that terrifies her. Her control is slipping. I never wanted to hurt her, I admitted. I just couldn't let this continue. Boundaries aren't punishment, Cassandra. They are protection. You did what you needed to do. As we ended our call, Margaret said,